Welcome. This is Elaine Starling, the Abundance Ambassador, and you're here for the Abundance Journey podcast and video show. Thanks so much for joining us today. Have you ever met somebody and just felt an immediate soul connection? I mean, like sisters separated at birth kind of thing. That's me and Teri Wellbrock. I mean, this lady is really going to blow you away. And I'm so excited that we get a chance to chat with her. Let me tell you a little bit about Teri, just so that you understand where she's coming from, because she's got a very interesting perspective on life. Teri Wellbrock is a trauma warrior. She's currently writing a book, Unicorn Shadows: From Trauma to Triumph, a healing guide, and she speaks publicly at trauma recovery events about her triumph over trauma. Teri's a mom to three beautiful souls. She holds a degree in psychology. She wrote a children's book. She created the Sammie's Bundles of Hope project. She hosts the top 2.5% globally rated show called the Healing Place podcast. She maintains a blog. She writes a monthly Hope for Healing newsletter. Teri recently released 2 online courses, and she's launched her coaching practice. Teri's life purpose is to shine a light of hope in dark spaces. We are so lucky to have Teri with us because she's got a completely different take on abundance. She has been in the deep, dark depths of despair and disaster and found a way through. Teri, welcome.
Oh my gosh, Elaine, what an intro. Gosh, could you feel my heart hugging yours? That was wonderful. And yes, I love those soul sister connections when they happen. It's so
fun. I mean, as soon as I met you, I was like, oh my gosh, yes.
Yes,
I just love
absolutely.
This lady. Yeah. So
yes.
Tell me a little bit about how you got into what you're doing and why you're so passionate about it.
Yes. Well, my first 22 years of life were filled with horrific trauma. And I spent the next 25 years of my life battling severe panic attacks and just trying desperately to not really live. I mean, just survive. And so once I found my way onto the healing path in 2013, I realized that I thought I was broken forever. But then I realized that the brain is malleable, that we can change those neuron pathways and brain plasticity or neuroplasticity, and started to do the healing work through EMDR, which is eye movement desensitization and reprocessing, a big mouthful, and a lot of other practices that I started to pull in and research. And then I started the podcast and interviewing these souls from across the world who were doing magnificent work in the healing arena, and just built an amazing coping skills toolbox for myself. And so I just want that message to be to others that no matter what you've been through in your life, because when they hear my story, they're like, holy cow,
Yeah.
that you can reach this beautiful place of joy and tranquility, even in the midst of chaos. I'm in the middle of a physical chaotic mess right now with an illness, but I'm still smiling and enjoying life and taking those beach walks. And it's just, even in the midst of chaos.
And I just got a download that you're actually in a healing journey.
Yes.
And that when you come through this healing journey, it will transform you in more ways than you can imagine.
Oh,
so embrace that this is divine love pouring through you and changing you to expand you even more. And that's one of the things that is so challenging for us in the moment, because when disaster strikes, when you're going through a really horrific time, it's very, very, very hard to remember you're not alone. Other people deal with all kinds of terrible situations and find a way through. And there is a way through. So because of your unique experience and your unique background, I always ask this question to people, but I really am interested to hear, what does abundance mean to you coming from where you came from?
For me, abundance is a beautiful gift, but it's different for all of us, meaning that so because of our personalities or our life experiences or whatever it may be. So I have 2 sons. One loves to surround himself with people. So he has an abundance of friendships. He has abundance of very close knit community and people he can rely on. And the other son has had a very traumatic event with a friend. And so his abundance comes in his tranquility in the mountains when he's just sitting alone by a lake at the top. He lives in Denver, so he's in the Rockies. And so it's whatever that gift is that your soul is needing and that your spirit is craving, and then it comes to you, is how I feel it is.
That's so beautiful. And I love that perspective, because it sounds like when you're in trauma, you're just, everything's frenetic, right? And so being able to get into that space of tranquility and calm and feeling at peace and safe, that is pure abundance when you are in the opposite situation.
Oh, for sure. And I have such a beautiful story if you'd like me to share it about that. So I call it my Dolphin of Hope story. We live on Hilton Head Island, this beautiful paradise. And I had become very sick because of mold exposure. And in our little neighborhood, it's about an 8-minute drive to this little tiny place called Dolphin Head Island. And it's called Dolphin Head, yet I had not seen dolphin except twice up there, and both when friends were visiting, and they were like, "Oh, look, dolphin." So I don't know if I wasn't paying attention but I never saw dolphin. So I went up there to meditate and had my chair, and it's always crazy busy, but there was no one in the parking lot. And I even was like looking around like, are there orange cones? Did I run over orange cones? Like, is the park closed today? What's going on? But it was just me. And sat my chair down and just cried and gave it to God, universe, angels. I just put it out there. And I said, I just need to know that I'm on the right path, that what I've been doing, that I'm doing the right thing to heal my body and welcome healing and so forth. And I talked about, accepting the gifts that were coming from this. Sobbed it out. And I realized that's why nobody's around me, because I'm just able to just set it free. Right.
Yeah.
So my eyes were closed and I said, if you could please just give me a sign, I need a big neon sign, something just like, rah. And I said, if you could just send me some Dolphin of Hope, that would be wonderful. And I opened my eyes and I said, okay, Dolphin, I'm ready for you. And as the words exited my mouth, what seemed like 20 dolphin fin came right up in front of me.
God.
I get goosebumps when I talk about it. And I just sat there. My whole body started trembling. I was again sobbing, but like tears of joy, and just in gratitude, like, thank you. So to me, that's abundance. It's that gift of the moment that I opened myself up to. And there it was.
So beautiful. That is so beautiful. And one of the things that I find with the abundance journey that we go on is we get into this quadrant, this stage where we're stuck or we're in pain or we're frustrated. There's a problem, there's an issue. And every single time it's an invitation to reconnect with the divine and feel that incredible divine flow of love that is coming right through you. And you get to absorb it and be changed by it as you share it on. And that's exactly what you did. You partnered up with the divine. You released all of the difficult stuff, because it's really funny how we like to think we're in control of everything, but our human minds can't really understand the complexity of everything that's happening. And the divine has a much bigger plan for us. So your ability to delegate to the divine and say, here you go. Right. On you. Have fun. Yeah.
Yes.
and they love playing with you like that. They absolutely adore playing with you. And so thank you for doing that. And thank you for sharing that beautiful story. That's just,
thanks for letting me share.
That's amazing. One of the challenges that I think a lot of people have is we have to find a different way of being. Like if we're used to a traumatic situation and we're just kind of stuck in that space, it can be hard to shift and move into a different approach, a different way of being, a different attitude. What is a technique or something that you've used when the stuff hits the fan? How do you get yourself into a better state of coping?
My primary one, now I have a whole huge collection of coping skills, but my main go-to, and it's just become habitual because I literally put it in my calendar and practiced it, is mindfulness. practices. And what I mean by that is using my senses to bring myself into the here and now, this moment, and all the beauty and all the joy in this moment. So I find that little ladybug and talk to it, or I notice the smell of beautiful flowers, the magnolias around me, or whatever it is to just, again, bring me not to be consumed by the past and the pain and the horrors that I lived through, and not to be worrying about the future. And, is my body healing? Am I going to find, just being here, right here in this moment. And so 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 mindfulness is a phenomenal practice in that find 5 things to look at and describe it in great detail to yourself, 4 things to listen to, and 3 things to touch. And so you just kind of walk through those senses, 2 to smell, 1 to taste. And I never get to even like 3 because I've just become so at peace, even in 5, and sometimes getting to 4, and just listening to the birds. And then it just helps me realize, like, right here in this moment, I'm safe. Yeah. I'm calm. Yeah. I'm at peace. I'm happy.
It's so interesting. I want to share a story too, similar to your dolphin story. I got to go down to Mexico and visit my sister and her husband. They have a sailboat that was down there at the time. And I had never seen a whale shark. And I was really hoping that I would get a chance to see a whale shark, let alone swim with one. And so we get on their boat, and there's a neighbor that we meet, and, what kinds of things do you want to do? And I'm like, I'd love to see a whale shark. He said, we saw them feeding just a couple of hours ago. You want to go swim with them now? And we're like, sure, let's go. So here I am in the water with this vegetarian whale shark that is 25 feet long and maybe 8 feet wide. And I'm snorkeling over the top of this miraculous animal. And I'm looking at the gills, and the gills alone are like 3 feet. And I am just in awe over the beauty, the majesty of this miraculous animal. I am blissing out. And he's just doing what whale sharks do. He's eating plankton. He knows I'm there, but he doesn't care. And he's just cruising along being a whale shark, He couldn't care less what I'm up to. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Here we humans think we have to be something different, something special, something. And all we have to do is be ourselves and love ourselves and love who we are.
Yeah. Yes. And just be in that moment with whatever beauty is.
Yeah.
We're blessed with.
Absolutely. Because there's beauty all around us.
Oh, for sure.
And we're often looking outside. We want something else. We think we can't have it right now. And all we have to do, like you said, that 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, come back into the present moment and enjoy what is right now. That this is a blessing. This moment here. It's almost like a scavenger hunt. You get to look for the blessing, their presents. You're surrounded by presents. Start unwrapping them.
I love that idea. Yes. And I seriously am. We took a walk last night up at the Dolphin Head area. It was me and my daughter's teenage friend, and we took the Labradoodle Sammie, and we were walking up there. And as I started to walk out, tide was really high in. And I said to myself, now we've lived here 2 years this month. And I said to myself, I wonder if the alligators ever come up in the marshy area, which was to our left. And as I thought those words, and I go up there all the time. It's the first time I thought about it. I turned my head, and sure enough, there's an alligator swimming. That must be like my little psychic zone or something. I don't know. But there was an alligator swimming there. And I just was in awe. Like, everybody's always like, alligators. And I'm like, oh, cool, an alligator.
Yeah. It's because you're more relaxed in that space. You're relaxed and you're happy and you're joyful. And that's when it's easier to let it in. When we think we have to control everything, it has to show up just like this. And, we're trying not to be distracted, right?
Right.
I view it, it's almost like, have you ever looked for shooting stars, like the Perseid meteor shower?
Oh, yeah.
When the star, it's so important. Yes, you are focused on one area of the sky, but you open up your peripheral vision So that
Yes.
as soon as a little glimmer starts to go, it grabs your attention. You can watch the
Yes.
shooting star. Otherwise, you miss them. And it's the same way because blessings are constantly showering down on you all the time. But if you are super focused and it's only going to show up this way, and I can't have it any other way, you're going to miss out on a lot.
I love it because I have found the same thing, like laying on the beach with a friend, and I'd be like, oh, there's one. Oh, there's one. And she'd be like, I don't see it. How are you seeing them? I think because I do, I'm just taking it all in. Like the magnificence of it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So how do you like to support other people? Because you obviously are big on trauma recovery and how people can feel more confident and feel more capable when they're feeling out of control, right?
Yes.
What do you like to do to support people with that?
One of my favorite things, again, I do a lot.
Yes, you do.
I have my fingers out everywhere in the world, is my therapy dog role with our Labradoodle, Sammie. And she has taught me so much about abundance and mindfulness and all of these gifts because she was born to be a therapy dog, number one, but she has a way of calming people, of grounding people, of bringing joy, without saying a word.
Yeah.
And to me, that's powerful because sometimes you just don't have the words of wisdom, or it's not up to us to tell someone how to do it. It's just a matter of them learning to open up, as you know, and welcome the message, welcome the gift, welcome whatever it is they're needing to learn. And so Sammie, one instant comes to mind that we were at a school when we lived in Cincinnati volunteering and had gone into the principal's, like the office area, and all of the teachers were there. They had gotten subs in for the day because a retired teacher friend of theirs had died. And they were going to the funeral as a community, as teachers and staff. And there was one group of women in the corner laughing, kind of just talking and chattering and giggling and doing their thing. And then there was another woman standing by herself with a tear streaming down her face, but just kind of needing her own grieving time. And then there were two women that were standing there, and they were quiet, but not really chatting a whole lot to each other. And Sammie pulled me over to the one that was standing alone and just laid her head on this woman's thigh and didn't do anything. And this woman stood there, and then slowly her hand went down and just touched Sammie's head. And then she looked down, and she just kind of, and it just, and then her tears dried up, and Sammie just gave her that moment to just kind of catch your breath. Well, then Sammie realized, okay. And then she went to the other two, and they were like, oh my gosh, hi. And then there was tail wagging. And then she was a little more, but she was a little more rambunctious. Well, then she got to the group that were the laughing, having a good old time. And it was a party with her. But and she was going from person to person and just happy and joyous. But she was reading the energy of each of those people and giving them what they needed in that moment. And to me, that's just such a powerful message, because I'm like, all right, kid, you're teaching me like how we need to respond to one another and how we need to give that gift to each other as humans.
I love that story. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Thanks.
Yeah, because quality time is one of the 5 love languages. And it doesn't mean that you're necessarily doing something. You could just be hanging out together watching television at the same time. You could just be in the same room reading books. But it's time spent together, companionship, and just being in the presence. Your energy is really valuable. And even just standing there and being with someone when they're in a space of grief and allowing them the grace to know that your strength is there whenever they need it.
Yes. Oh,
you're making me tear up a whole bunch today. Wow. Always a powerful message with you, Teri. It's always such a blessing to have a conversation with you.
Thanks.
So you very generously offered to provide some support to our audience. And I really appreciate it because you have such a unique gift. such a unique way of helping people deal with whatever they're dealing with and be able to move through it with grace and ease. And I so appreciate what you're offering to our audience today. Could you tell us a little
Thanks,
bit about
Elaine.
it?
Yes, for sure. So if you go to my website, teriwellbrock.com, and it's Teri, just one R, and then WELL, the letter B. And then I always feel like I need to be like ROCK. So teriwellbrock.com. And there's a subscribe button, or if the pop-up comes up, just fill that out. And then I will send you a copy of a coping skills guide for panic attacks and anxiety. And so if you have anxiety, which in today's, post-pandemic world, and anxiety has just bubbled to the surface for so many. But it's really, I talk about 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 mindfulness in it, along with so many other strategies they're all strategies I've utilized along my own healing journey. And I really need to add some more to them. So I might be updating it soon, because I keep feeling like I keep learning more, and it's wonderful.
And the beautiful thing is there are so many different tools that you can use.
Yes.
There's so many different techniques that you can use. So it's like you do have a toolbox. And yes, stuff happens, but sometimes you need a wrench. Sometimes you need a screwdriver. Sometimes you need a stapler. Sometimes you need a whisk. It just depends upon the situation. So having a variety of different tools that can help you acknowledge how you feel, you have to own it first before you can release it. And that is just such a beautiful thing. And I will definitely put all of the information in the show notes for people so they can easily find your gift. But Teri, we do things a little bit differently here with the Abundance Journey, because we love to turn the tables on you. Not only do we deeply appreciate that you bring us a gift that helps us increase our abundance, we want to support you. So what is something the audience can do to help you? Because when you give is when you get.
Oh, well, thanks so much. I love the idea of my podcast reaching people who don't even know it exists. And the word of mouth has been the whole reason for the growth of my show. It's on downloaded in 114 countries now. And again, it just continues to blossom, because and I'll run into people who will say, "Oh my gosh, I was just talking about you and your interview that you did with that one lady that was talking about blah, blah, blah." And I told my friend, because she was telling me she was experiencing this, she needed to listen in. And so that's what I love. So even if you don't feel maybe you aren't on a healing journey, or you don't really need to listen into a podcast, if you know someone that's struggling, if you know someone that's hurting with whatever it is, trauma history, anxiety, abuse history, depression, whatever it is, grief is a big one that we talk about often. Just refer them to the Healing Place podcast, either the Facebook page or my website that I just listed, or whatever it is that they can find, because it's on YouTube. There's a YouTube channel, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, all that. And just have them take a listen, because there's 250 episodes now. And with healers,
that's a lot of healing.
That's a lot of healing. Yeah. And healers from across the globe. So these are people who are doing magnificent work, whether it's in Italy or New Zealand or the States or Canada, wherever it is. And it's beautiful.
I love listening to the podcast because, first of all, they're always stories of hope as far as I'm concerned. They are stories of healing. So yes, people have dealt with some pretty horrific situations, and it's how they found their way through. It's truly the hero's journey, right?
Yes.
So being able to be a witness to it and send good energy to support them as they've gone through this healing journey, that's awesome. But then also they're sharing tips and tools and tricks and things that they used that they found incredibly valuable that help them thrive in spite of horrific situations. And that's what we're all looking for, is how can we thrive? So I love your podcast. It's fabulous. I'll make sure that there are lots of links in the show notes so everybody can find it. And I highly, highly, highly recommend that people tune in or watch on YouTube, because it's well worth it. Fabulous information.
Thanks so much. Thank you, Elaine.
Man, I just want to keep you with me all day.
I know. Well, I don't know. People tell me you radiate joy, Teri. Well, I radiate joy when I talk about healing and like, I just want everyone who's hurting and struggling. I just want to tell them and just be like, oh, I promise you, I know it's so hard to go into the darkness and it's scary. But find a hand to hold, whether it's mine, whether it's Elaine's, whether it's whomever you resonate with, find that hand to hold and you can make it out of that darkness.
Yeah, you're not alone. Not at
Yeah.
all. Yeah. So thank you so much, Teri. I so appreciate you being here today. And for all the listeners and viewers, stay tuned because we're going to activate abundance.
Awesome. Thanks, Elaine. Thanks, everybody.
Hey, it's Elaine Starling. It's time to activate abundance with Teri Wellbrock. Wasn't she amazing? This woman is so heart-centered and so genuine and so caring, so loving. And if you heard her story, she has been through absolutely horrific situations, just beyond imagining. And yet she is so full of love and life and joy and gratitude. How do you do that? I mean, give me some of that. I want what she's having. So let's activate abundance because we are now tuned in to Teri's energy. And we can activate abundance for ourselves. So we celebrate. We got to chat with Teri. She's hard to get a hold of. She is so brilliant and so busy helping a lot of people. She really wants to make a massive difference in the world. And so how wonderful that we got to have some time with Teri. I love celebrating in advance. Now, let's acknowledge what Teri was saying. I loved both of the stories she shared about her dolphin moment of hope. But I also really love the conversation about her dog, the Labradoodle, and how the Labradoodle could just be in the moment and be present with the energy that was there and the energy that was needed. That's really important. That's such a good reminder. So often we show up thinking, oh, we got to make things happen. We get to be in the moment. We get to read what is needed and we get to be what is needed in the moment. That was such a brilliant observation. I just really want to acknowledge that. And I appreciate the difference it will make in my life because instead of making it all about me and how I show up and it's, what I have to say and all this, no. It's about what the other person needs and how I can be what they need, how I can be the divine love that they are looking for. Because everybody needs to feel more loved and appreciated and valued and important. And so when you can be present for them, fully present for them, you're confident enough in yourself that you don't have to make it all about you. You could just be present for them and celebrate them. Oh my gosh, things really start to light up for you. So what am I going to do? Well, I'm definitely going to be listening to Teri's podcast on a regular basis. She is brilliant. And I love all the people that she's interviewing. Fabulous, fabulous podcast. And I also want to make a point of reaching out to people every time I'm doing a session with someone. I want to hold that intention. How can I be more divine love in this moment? Not just for myself, but for the other person. How can I be more divine love in this moment? That is such a powerful question. I know it's going to change a lot in my life. I can't wait to hear what you're doing to activate abundance. And I'll see you next time on the abundance journey. Bye-bye. Watch my TED Talk, Abundance is a Choice. You can visit theabundancejourney.com to find the link and discover how you can receive a special gift. You are a blessing and you are blessed.